Okay, we are live on Facebook. Again, all right, so welcome everyone if you've just joined us. This is, first of all, thank you. This is Warrior Women in Business, episode number 32 with Warrior Women in Business certified new coach, Amanda Parness. And I'm really excited she's on. Today she's gonna be answering lots of questions for you women out there that are, it's, when you start and run and grow a business, that one of the largest challenges can be managing your finances and even knowing where to get started. So that's what we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about investing in yourself and your business. And Amanda's going to walk us through that in prep for a class that she's going to be running for us on December 9th. So for those of you that don't know anything about Warrior Women in Business, I'd like to start with that. First of all, my name is Jasmine Sandler. I'm the CEO of Warrior Women in Business. The mission of Warrior Women in Business is to provide female leaders and mentors that have been there and done that in their businesses cross industry. If you've listened into the podcast or watched the podcast before, I've had great women from law, fashion, sports, entertainment, kind of cross industry, because the whole purpose is to give you guys that are really hungry to build a business or maybe switch careers, and you're looking for knowledge on how to do that. That's what I bring to the table here. Beyond the podcast, we have coaches, of which Amanda is one, and we have several coaches and mentors on warriorwomenbusiness.com that are really here to serve from a one-on-one perspective, as well as a group coaching and class perspective, of which we have a lot of things coming up. And then we also host events. I mean, pre-COVID, we do run a conference series called Brand You, which is a conference on thought leadership development for young female entrepreneurs and women in transition. We also host events that are both educational as well as a lot of fun. The other mission of Warrior Women in Business is to support women in the arts. So you may or may not know about the Warrior Women Entertainment Collective. We're always looking for new talented women to come on board and be a part of our entertainment collective. And then lastly, something that I wanted to share that's brand new, which is right next to me. This is kind of why I'm sitting back today and trying to make this all work, is we have a new apparel line and I'm super excited about it. So it's a lifestyle brand, and the intention is, it's all about strength and beauty, Warrior Women in Business. So we have leggings, we have mugs, we have a lot of great things going on. And that all actually came to fruition because of Tina Trevino, who you're going to be hearing from soon, as well as a Warrior Women in Business coach. So with that mouthful, I want to move on to episode number 32, and I'm going to introduce Amanda Parness here. Amanda, just say hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you're
Great.
good. So Amanda, she has what I've been looking for a woman to support the female entrepreneurs and female executives in transition that I've worked with in my own business, as well as through Warrior Women in Business, with someone that really understands this whole kind of landscape of taking a business from startup to exit and really looking at it from a financial perspective. So Amanda has a tremendous history as an investment professional, and she really truly gets it. So I asked her to be on today, first and foremost, so you could get an introduction to Amanda and what she does and learn more about what you can do kind of starting out or as you're growing your business. I am the first one to admit that finances are the toughest part of running a business. I've run a business now. This business, JS Media, is in its 15th year. So, it is the biggest challenge, and I'm really excited. And I want to thank Amanda for coming on board. So let's jump right into it.
Great.
So my first question is, being a woman in finance, especially in the world of investments, can have its challenges. The financial industry as we normally know it is male dominated, and there's always lots of conversations on that. So, it's always interesting to me when I come across a woman that has a strong background in finance and investing and has really made it work. So can you tell us first, it's interesting to know for my audience why you chose this path, and talk to us about any kind of like pivotal point of change along the way and some insight you learned.
Sure. So thank you for having me on. I was always interested in business and the stock market, even, selling lemonade or iced tea, on my front stoop.
Yep.
Um, so I was always kind of interested in how companies work and the guts of them. So I chose a field first in public markets, where I was an equity research analyst, and then in private finance. And the idea was that I could do research, and I was kind of quiet and shy. And this was a way for me to do the analysis and somehow be behind the scenes, right? I wasn't doing like investment banking. I wasn't kind of doing sales. I was really a research person.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a nice fit for my personality. Now, a change came when I realized that the material was kind of so vast, and I had a liberal arts background. I didn't study
that's interesting.
accounting. I didn't study finance. I didn't study business in college. And I was just put right in there. I got my first job in, a bulge bracket investment bank. And I was just kind of chucked in there. We had 6 weeks of training. And I kind of found out that if I wanted to learn anything, I was going to have to open my mouth and ask questions. So I was a bit of a fraidy cat, and I never wanted to ask anything. Mm-hmm. So the only way I was going to get knowledge was to speak up. And then I realized as I progressed, the only way that I was going to move up was to get noticed and have an opinion and speak out. And, so speaking up became the first ingredient to enable me to kind of rise through the ranks. And then in 2006, I switched firms in 1998. But then in 2006, someone told me during a review, one of those HR reviews where you get,
a performance
at the end
review
of the year,
mm-hmm.
That if I wanted to make partner, because I wasn't going to in the trajectory that I was, but if I wanted to make partner, I had to volunteer to work in an area that no one else was working on in the firm. So I had to stand out in a different way, and I had to differentiate myself. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was to succeed in an area that was wide open. So that's what I did. I started a new investment strategy within my firm and led the team that raised, $100 million for our first fund, and grew that over the subsequent 15 years to $1 billion kind of franchise. Wow. At which point I left. So that creativity, kind of zigging when everyone else is zagging, is kind of what enabled me to succeed. And speaking up, of course. And as this past January, I started my own thing, my own company. It's different than what.
All right, Spring Advisory. I'm sorry, I didn't even say that up front.
That's okay. I started my own company, Spring Advisory. We'll get to it, later. Sure. I know. But it's different. It's not kind of the same old thing that everyone else is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know what I heard there is so important. I actually, strangely, was thinking about it today. It is a hard time, and it's never easy, whether there's a pandemic going on or whatever the case. And I like that you talk about speaking up. I was thinking about how important it is today, more than ever, to speak up, because, the saturation and the competition, and just, you have to be agile in all industries, and speaking up is a big part of it. So, I'm glad you shared that story. It's very important. So, I mentioned the male dominated industry, and I know my brother's in finance. I'm not the CEO. I'm the chapter president of the Hockey Players in Business, New York City. And it's me and, I don't know, 30 guys in finance. Mm-hmm. So anyway, but the point of the story is, so, have you had issues in the industry competing against, or, men, or making allies with men as well as women? I had a previous episode where I interviewed this former Congresswoman, Katie Hill, and she was talking about, it was really surprising to me. That was a great episode, because she was talking about how the competition amongst women in politics, which I didn't really know anything about. So when I look at finance, I think that might be some similarities there. So I wonder, Can you talk about like you're making allies or competing against different genders in a male dominated industry?
Sure. So in my career, I've often been the only woman in the room. In fact, when I was forwarding this invite to my LinkedIn,
Oh, thanks for saying.
connections,
Yeah.
I have about 1,500 connections. 100 are women. So
What?
just to give you a sense
Wow.
of, these
Very
are people that I've
surprising.
worked with before.
Mm.
But it's not unusual
Mm.
in the finance industry. It kind of
Oh,
it's kind of right up there, but it's kind of frightening and sad.
yeah.
But I've always, had to work with men, and occasionally some women. And my approach in life is to try never to compete with anyone. Um, I've evolved into this kind of people person from speaking up, and I want people to like me. So I often look, for win-win outcome situations where if the whole team succeeds, like we all succeed together.
Yeah, right.
And now I had to make some modifications in my own kind of personal lifestyle
Yeah, of course.
to meet the men kind of where they were. So, what does that mean? That means
Oh,
going to the
yeah.
bar, learning how to play golf. I mean, I'm one person, um, and I have a family and children, and, I had to make sacrifices there to kind of meet people at their level, given the disproportionate ratios that we were looking at here. Now, there are times when I did have to compete for something like my team and when I won, I made sure that it's always kind of not because I'm a woman or a man won because he was a man, but, there's a thing that's price, it's
Yeah.
performance, it's price, it's merit, it's I can offer something that, someone else can't. Now, conversely, and there was a time when there was another woman in the firm with me, and we found that we were more effective working together.
Ah,
Did I feel like people were comparing me against her? Sure, it's only natural,
yeah.
but I kind of pushed it to the side and said, we're going to work on it together. So I never had that kind of catfighting
That's
thing
good.
you've alluded to. There have been one or two sad stories in my career when some man went up against me unjustly. And, unfortunately, none of the other people on my team stood up for me.
Oh.
So I left, shortly after that. And I don't really blame, for the job that I was at for a pretty long time. I saw that the environment and culture just wasn't going to change.
Yeah.
And to me, just speaking more broadly about the investment community, there just needs to be more diversity that's built in from the ground up so that, the male group think and behaviors just don't become the norm. I know
I
many.
have a question about
Yeah,
that.
sure.
In your own business, do you tend to work, um, on purpose with more women? Do you hire women? Do you partner with women? Talk to us about that a little bit.
Sure. So a few things. I built my business with the goal of helping women.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Me
Now
too.
the reality
Yeah.
is you're starting a business. Like I'm not turning business away.
No, of course. Well,
And
not, you
so,
can't, right? No.
right. And so of the projects that I've worked on so far, starting in January, and my projects are very kind of intense and long.
Mhm.
3 out of the 4 have been, with men, and 1 has been, with a woman.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it meets the statistics. As
That's
far
interesting. Yeah.
as hiring, I happen to have had 2 associates that work with me. One is a man, one is a woman, which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
And if my business grows and becomes successful, what I really want to do is you mentioned inviting women back into the workforce or career transitioning.
Yeah.
You know, what I would love to do is there's so much great talent out there for women who have kind of dropped out of the workforce to have their children, you know, for 8 or 10 years. They're very senior. They have a huge amount of knowledge and experience. And if I can set up an environment, and I think I can with what I'm doing, that allows them to be more project based, they can kind of ease back or be on a, you know, a smooth glide path back into, you know, into the workforce. So, you know, I'm hoping that eventually I get to a point where I can do that, but hopefully that answers the question with what I'm trying to do at Spring.
Yeah, you know, with Warrior Women in Business, you know, I started Warrior Women in Business as a subset of my digital marketing agency and media business to really serve women. And it's been, you know, for all the women out there that are trying to support other women, I just want to share my story along with Amanda. I agree with her because it's been a journey where you're in a position where you're not going to turn qualified business down. And most of my work is actually with, I work with a lot of male executives in healthcare. And, however, I found ways to suss out or make distinctions with vendors, anything I buy or source, or even the internship program that I do at different schools. I really try to focus on women. So if you're out there and you want to support women, of course, support Warrior Women in Business and Amanda's company, but kind of all together, there are a lot of creative ways for what it's worth that you can support young girls, women, as you develop your business. And obviously we are all for it. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. So for those of you out there, and including myself, when I was turning this on today, I was like, oh, I can't wait to learn. You know, they're unfamiliar with your work, right? Specifically for women in business. Can you give a summary of like, where do you come in? I mean, you know that most of the Warrior Women are either female entrepreneurs new, or we've been in the game. I consider myself one a while, and we're still improving our businesses. So where do you come in, and like, what exactly do you do?
Sure. So what Spring Advisory does is, well, let me just take a little bit of a step back. So where I used to come into businesses was I used to come in as an investor, right? So I took a stake in the company, and then I would work on the company after I was already invested, right? I would do the same research that I described at the beginning, right? More of a numbers-based analysis and some phone calls, reference calls. And then you kind of make the bet and come in. And we turned down, we probably did, you know, 5 to 10% of deals that were shown to us. Doesn't mean they're bad businesses. It just means that they weren't right for prime time. They weren't ready for prime time. So what Spring Advisory is doing is coming into the company before the company has institutional outside investors or lenders. And we help the company get into a shape where it might be appealing to a lender or an investor. So that could be anything from getting, you know, a working capital line from a bank, or getting an outside, you know, some equity investor to come in. And having been on the other side, I know what those people look for, right? So
wait, can you just backstep for half of a second?
Sure.
So where do they need to be? Where does that company need to be?
Right. So, well,
that's the big question, right? So
sure. I mean,
stage?
my where I can help is a little bit on the setup in a startup, not day one, but maybe at the end of the first year.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my typical clients have about 10 million in revenue, and they are about to be profitable. And that's where I think I provide the most value, making sure that executives and entrepreneurs focus on the right things. For a startup business, I can help on some level, but I'm not a marketing person. And so the most important thing a startup can do, right, is kind of get out
Yes,
there and
right.
sell.
Of course, that's what I do.
And so
Yeah.
there has to be some traction. Once there's some traction, I can certainly kind of come in and help with the kind of functional, functional nuts and bolts of operating the business and making sure that it's being reported correctly and the financials are being set up in the right way.
So do you replace or do you team with financial advisor, accountant? Where do you sit in that?
Sure. So hopefully there's an accountant already.
Okay.
They're inside or outside. And I would, say if it's inside, it would be a controller or someone who's doing receivables and payables.
Okay.
And putting the financial statements together. And then there's an accountant, which is for tax purposes, kind of a whole, outside, different. Yeah. I'm working more with the CEO. I kind of sit between the CEO and the accounting people. And the idea is to translate the numbers that the accounting people are doing into takeaways for the CEO. So I'll just give you an example. Right now I'm working with a company, and it's a service business, and they have a lot of labor, and they work on projects, and they have so many people.
I get it.
And they have project revenue, and their margins are below the industry standard. So how do you get their margins up to the industry standard? So we do an analysis of, how much revenue they're getting, what they're paying their people, how many hours the individuals are working, where are they at capacity, and then we spit out some options. Like here's based on your numbers, some things you can do. You can raise your price, you can let go of a person, or make them, part-time, or you can, have your salespeople try and win more business in this area to bring capacity up. But, it's situation dependent. But it's hard for no one is really there interpreting the nuts and bolts of the operations and the financials to the CEO, right? The CEO is
running the business,
running around. And
I am that person, so I get it. Believe me.
So
no, it's really nice. So it sounds like an objective sound view of what's going on from the basis points, the mathematics behind it, and looking at how the operations play in that role, because the operations are in the service business, a liability if we're spending money on resources and we're growing sales. So
right. That's
and
exactly
what are those,
right.
And what are those engagements like with the example that you gave? What's the length of, so what's the success metric and what's the length of the engagement?
So most people are hiring me with a goal in mind. So with one company, with this company as an example, right? They actually hired me they want to make some little acquisitions and increase their scale by buying up smaller companies. So, and then the idea is work with them for about 2 years, buy some companies, make the existing business better, and then try to sell it to, a bigger fish up the chain, or to sell it to a financial buyer, or to do a dividend recap, which means that the company would borrow money to pay a dividend to the shareholders. So they can take some money out of the business at some point. So there's a strategic end game, but it's a journey to get there. Now, this little project that I told you about is just, I do a million different things for each company. This is one little discrete thing, and it's something that I could do for someone that knows, that they have this problem, right? So I could make a more discrete, discrete consulting job. But most of my clients come to me for very long-term strategic planning, and there's a series of steps that we're going to take, to get there over time.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's. I mean, it's certainly that you're part of the team. So
Exactly.
because if it's running a business is not done overnight, and it's a journey.
Right.
So,
exactly. I become like an
yes,
outsourced executive.
yeah, but you don't call do you call yourself uh do you go in the COO area or the CFO area, or it's none of the above?
Well, none of the above, because I'm not
Okay.
an employee of the company.
Okay.
So I'm always going to be a consultant,
Okay.
but for these very long-term projects,
Hmm.
I take a little bit of equity in the business.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
So
an equity in their growth, they're like a small, let's say if it's a smaller private company. So it's still an equity.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Hmm.
Because the idea is to get to an exit or payout
Yes.
in, let's say, 3 to 5 years for these
Mm-hmm.
longer term engagements, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I take a bit of equity, and this is what I was saying before, is so different. I'm really kind of like a management consultant,
Okay.
but I'm in the company, as you pointed out, and I'm aligned though. I'm not like other kinds of consultants that say, I'm going to analyze your business and here's what
Right.
you have to do, and
Yeah.
then hand it over.
Yeah.
And you are stuck with this advice, whether it's good or not.
Yeah.
Because I'm aligned with the management team,
Hmm.
I'm, I'm eating my own cooking at some point.
You are,
So
right.
I'm ensured that I'm giving the right advice, and if it's the wrong advice, I'm going to be there to help it pivot.
Okay. That makes sense. I get it. I wanted to explore that, not for myself, but people want to know, and I'm sure that you get a lot of questions more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at the time. So
Sure.
so let's pivot a little bit into investing.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the women that want to understand, because they've seen your bio on hopefully on Warrior Women in
Mm-hmm.
Business, for the women that want to understand where and how to invest and how to make their best investments, even at this time of COVID, what
Right.
one bit of a starter advice would you give someone who's a business owner or becoming a business owner, noting that they are investing already in their business?
Yeah.
So talk to us
Sure.
about that.
Sure. Okay. So there are two things, and they're very different.
Okay.
Okay. And the first thing is to invest as a person in your own future.
Mhm.
So what do I mean by that? I mean, learn about setting up an IRA or setting up some kind of retirement savings plan for you and hopefully eventually your employees.
Yes.
And do a little bit of auto investing in mutual funds there, because you want to make sure that you're not sinking every single thing, into your business. Yes, it's important to put a lot in there, but you have to think about your future just as a person. And I recently gave a 10-week class,
Yeah.
investment class on the stock market and investing to about 25 women.
Mhm.
And I was surprised at just how many smart and educated women who work for themselves don't have proper retirement accounts set up. If they
Yeah.
had never worked in like a big company
Oh,
and
they hadn't come
a
from the
401k.
background. Yeah, right. Mhm.
So that's the first thing. So I just want to put that out there. The second thing is, when you invest in your business, one element is time and attention, right? You have to really be relentless and persevering single-mindedly in your business, even though it's kind of tough in a global pandemic. And believe me, I know what this feels like. I've met a number of entrepreneurs since I started who are trying to do 4 or 5 things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no,
Do
if you
one.
want to be successful in any of them, focus in that one thing. Now, if you have an income stream coming from somewhere else, by all means, like, keep that going, but don't, have one thing and focus on it. Give it the proper amount of time and attention. And that could be like a year, and try and make it work. And you're going to have to work at odd hours, especially if you have a paying job somewhere else. But
Yep.
that is, the time and attention, and be singularly focused. Then you have to experiment with different strategies.
Yeah.
And recognize that maybe it's marketing, paying for marketing, maybe it's paying for extra help, and there's a cost to these things, and they can't go
Yes.
on indefinitely. So you have to give the appropriate time to the investment to see if it works out, and tweak it, analyze it. And if it's not working, drop it.
Yeah.
So I think that's general advice. There's very specific advice, but that will apply to each company or each person independently. But you have to experiment, but you also have to know when to pull back or shut it off or modify it, and then analyze it and see how to modify it.
Okay, so that's really great advice. I have one question off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about the importance of having personal finance as an investment and not just dumping everything into your business, which is very, very important advice. So like for me in my world, right, I have mathematical rules to things like social media management, social media marketing. It's like 30, 20, 20 on original third-party content. I have rules, right? So do you have any rules on investing? So, like I remember when I was at IBM, they would always say, try to save 10% of that check, put it into the 401k that we match type of thing, So do you have any kind of rules for business owners in terms of investing a percentage of what they earn to personal investments, and then investing in their business, or like any type of? No, you don't. Okay.
No, but what I do have,
no.
I it's not that I haven't given it any thought.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And this is one of the things that, when we have our class, or if you work with me directly, we would build a monthly cash flow model for your business and, your life, and see like how much, like what's really important, what's what's a must have for your business, what's a nice to have,
that's
where
important.
to make cuts. And then again, doing this systematically, so that this is what you can afford for where you are at your business at the, at the right time. I could just say, $6,000, or which is, or 7,000, which is, the maximum that you can put in, a Roth IRA or something. But that's not, you should do that, but finding the right number and the trade-off between investing for your personal and investing for your business is also important. And having that emergency stash of cash that I'm sure you've all heard about by now.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So let's talk about investing for female startups versus investing for larger companies. I'm sure we've talked mainly thus far about the kind of startup. So talk a little bit about what does investment consulting advice look like for some of the larger companies, women that might be listening in.
Right. So especially if you're a young woman entrepreneur and you're out there and you're trying to raise venture capital, let me just say that the statistics are abysmal. So somewhere between all VC money is, given somewhere like 3 to 6%, depending on the year, is given to, female startups in the venture community. And there are those, so angel networks that are out there.
My next guest is from 37 Angels.
Right.
So haven't even announced her yet.
Great. Okay. So that's
I'm really excited. So go ahead.
No, that's great. And I'm in one called Golden Seeds.
So They're great. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are a few networks there.
Mhm.
But if you're a woman, I would say hire some men to get some diversity. Like be diverse, diversity is important both ways. Okay, but anyway, I think the biggest difference between startups and mature companies is that from the perspective of an investor or management consultant is that it's the trade-off between profitability and top line growth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a young company, you want to show growth at any cost, top line growth, revenue growth, and you want to solicit a funding source to drive that. So at the beginning, it's going to be your own money. And then the next stage, it will be friends and family. And then, that may be enough to get to that profitability point.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not, you may need to go to the angel community and then the venture community and then the private, then the bank.
Right. Yeah.
And then PE. So that's kind of the way that expands. Now a mature company, on the flip side,
Mm-hmm.
is going to focus on a combination of growth and profitability. So you want to make sure that you're generating free cash flow because that's how your business is going to be valued on, again, at one point for that exit event. Now, I would say that even for a young company, and this is where a lot of companies kind of pre-corona and maybe, if you go back to the tech bubble,
Mm-hmm.
kind of might have failed, is that you have to understand your path to profitability. Okay, you have to know what your unit economics are if you are a startup company. You have to understand what your marketing cost per lead is from a marketing standpoint.
Of course.
Like you really need to break it down to say that if I shut off investment in growth, here's what would drop to the bottom line. Mm-hmm. And setting up your financial structure, that's the type of thing that we would do together.
Okay.
At a certain point when you reach that, that inflection point in your business.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for December 9th. And you talked about looking into cash flow. I can tell you how just important that is in a world that's so up. Normally, and I've had an agency business for a long time. It's always up and down. But right. With the compounding with a pandemic and economic changes and political craziness, it's, having that cash flow, understanding what it is, whether you're a new right. business owner or you've been in the game it doesn't matter because everyone is kind of shifting their businesses right now. I mean, last week I had a client who unfortunately told me, that they furloughed all these employees, and this is a big company in the entertainment space.
Yeah.
And it's just terrible. So, I feel that the way you need to be prepared, and that's why I wanted to have you on and have you get a class going immediately, mm-hmm. is because it's better to kind of start to understand your business and understand. I love what you said about kind of understanding your what you can spend and where you can save, the basics at this moment. If you have to pivot, you lose your job, you need to transition, you have to shed a service layer. All of these things are really important right. for what you're talking about. Okay. Right. So next question, and we're almost going to Facebook now, but there's just so many questions. So yeah. I always ask all of my guests, hence our apparel, which is a new product line talking about finances that needs to go in the cash flow statement. So, it's I always ask my guests what it means to them to be a warrior woman, right? And everybody has a different answer, and no answer is wrong. So when you think about the warrior woman in the world that you play in, mm-hmm. specifically your job, your business, like what comes to mind to you?
Sure. Actually, I love your marketing, Jasmine. So I am
a marketing person.
Right. So So,
But thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of hard work.
I see that. And,
Yeah.
that kind of fierce attitude that kind of comes through in, the Wonder Woman-esque kind of vibe of what you've got going on is what kind of has come across. And having that kind of perseverance and fierce attitude during the pandemic is, is a really great message, and it kind of resonates, with me. Women have been more adversely affected in this pandemic, as we hear and see on the news.
Sure.
And we need the strength and kind of support to help each other through. What I see, and to me, what being a part of, the organization means is being part of a group that supports one another so that each woman can be the best at what she does in her respective field, right? So you're a marketing person. If I can help you with finance, I want to do that because I want you to be marketing.
Please God, yes. And I like what you said about your focus in your lane and in your area to the women out there, because you've built this expertise in a very critical area. And so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it is what makes the Warrior Women community work. It's not about, and I love what you said about not competing, because that is what this is actually all about. It's cooperation, collaboration, all the C's.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I see this as a great network where we can help one another and do that, whether, I can help as a coach for people to manage their P&L and make the right, strategic decisions. And hopefully I can get some help in marketing in those areas where I'm weak. So
it's easy to market you. So because everyone needs you. That's the way I see it. Everyone needs me and everyone needs you. And there's other people that everyone needs, and we just kind of bring them all together. So a couple other things. So I know that you're great. Through the RSVP that we put out, Amanda has graciously offered a initial free consult with all the mentors and coaches on Warrior Women in Business, of which we have a really good group now. We give 30% off of their services in general, but Amanda's offered a free consult. So if someone does take advantage of that offer, what can they expect from their first time consulting privately with you?
Right. So what I would suggest first is to participate in the class, which is December 9th. Yes. And what we're going to cover there is 5 analytical tools that will help you think about your business and set things up in a way that are going to be able to give me, frankly, the numbers that I need to do the personal consultation. But I think it will be helpful for you all as well and I'm going to hopefully, once after the class, we'll give out an Excel kind of little workbook that allows you to fill in the numbers. Okay. So I would encourage people to tune in for that session. After that, depending on what your issue is, certainly reach out and send me the page that focuses on the issue. And then I'll give you some thoughts and maybe do some more analysis around it and ask you some questions during our half-hour consultation that will allow you to get something out of that, like a real tangible strategy. Mm-hmm. And then if it takes more work or more analysis, then we can talk about, setting up some hourly coaching. But, hopefully you get a lot of, useful information that will at least get you thinking about your business and where maybe some changes, could be made.
Okay. So a couple things off of that. So one is, can anyone at any point in their entrepreneurial journey or transition journey benefit from this class? Is it okay.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, good. Then the second question for those that may be interested in taking the class, do they need to bring, how can they best prepare to take your class? Do they need to?
No one needs to prepare anything.
Nothing. Okay, nothing. That makes it pretty easy, because I'm always forcing people before I train these companies, you have to do homework. So
I
good.
mean, it
Then it's a
would
little bit
be
easier.
helpful. Well, it would be helpful
Yeah.
to, have Excel or,
Oh, I
you
mean,
know, okay, you never
I,
know.
I, I'm more meant to do they need to have their, like their finances
No, no,
organized? Like,
no, because I'm going to give some examples
okay.
because everyone's got their own business and it's unique to them.
Oh, correct.
And the advice at the end of the day is going to be bespoke and, personalized.
Okay, great. All right. So we're going to be going to Facebook for questions in just a second. I just wanted to let those know that are on today and those that watch this recording how they can take advantage of Amanda's class. So it's pretty much everywhere right now, but if you haven't received an invitation to it, fairly simple. You can go to warriorwomenbusiness.com and just subscribe to our newsletter. We'll be sending something out on it. You can also, if you don't want to subscribe to the newsletter, that's fine. Just send an email to info@warriorwomenbusiness.com. And in Facebook right now, Allie, who's on the Warrior Women Business team, should be putting that information out. So you can just grab that. And so that is that. A couple other things before we go into Q&A is if you do subscribe to the newsletter, we're going to be sending out a special for all the Warrior Women in Business gear. And we're going to be doing fun contests and giveaways. It's just exciting. So anyway, so I'm going to go right into the questions now. I'm going to check over on Facebook. This might take just a moment. There's always multiple streams going on in the world. Okay, wow, I just got like a million questions.
No,
All right,
come
so
on. Really?
I'm not kidding.
Okay.
And I'm not kidding that I have a million screens.
Okay.
So, all right. So
All right.
I always make this fun. I'm me. What can I say? All right. And I'm never going to be anybody else. All right. So, number one, how do I set up my business from an accounting standpoint, from both the view of starting my business and then also once I've established my business? I think they want to understand how to prepare their business.
Sure.
Like it seems like maybe LLC or C Corp or S Corp.
Well, to me, I heard accounting. So,
Okay.
So,
It's as opposed to structure. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, as opposed to corporate structure. So, so there are, depending on what your business is, when you're small, you probably want to set up your business on a cash basis. Okay. So that means, you will record your revenues and your income, pretty much when you get the money, and your cash flows when you pay out the money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so I use, for starters, like I use QuickBooks. I don't know what other people use. There's something called Xero, XERO. There's other packages, and they're online and they're very cheap from a monthly basis perspective. It's in the cloud, and it's pretty easy to, you can attach, and on this, I recommend this, attaching your credit cards to the business, and having from a mindset, and I know some people don't do this. Your business is one thing and your personal life is another thing, and they should be separate. You should have a separate bank account. You should have a separate credit card. Everything should be really distinct, and you should try and keep track of your personal expenses elsewhere and your business expenses, within those accounts. Now, the more granular you are, the better. And I like setting up things in categories. Okay. So at least we can because down the road, you're going to want to do some analysis.
Yeah, of course.
And having all that information in there set up, the right way is important. So, by client, setting up your revenues by client, not just kind of, hey, I took in this much money in my bank account, this month, and so that's going to be my revenue. No, take the time to have it, be done by client, and your payroll be done by person, even if you use outside contractors. And try and be as detail oriented as you can. So in buckets of things so that the analysis comes later. Then later, and you might want to hire at some point if it's taking too much time, and you might want to hire a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
To do that for you, and prepare it. And then the next stage would be a part-time CFO or controller, and then a full-time CFO. So you can take incremental steps.
Yeah. Yes, I can tell everybody that is extremely important what Amanda said about not mixing up your monies. And also because I did that at the beginning and my accountants like wanted to kill me. So, and then, also just categorizing, because, it's simple now, for me, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to send out an invoice. It's all going to be recorded under a category. But when you're first getting going, if you don't do that, it actually helps you make money in the long run.
Yep.
Okay. So next question. How can I split my money between my business and personal? What is you kind of went through this. What is the best way to keep them separate? So you went through that. So I'm going to move on to the next question. Okay. How do I grow my business for both the short and medium term? Not sure if that's really relevant.
Well, I mean, depending on growth is a function of, well, it depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about profit growth, or are you talking about revenue growth? So revenue growth, that's sales, that's marketing, that's investments that you have to, or your time, right?
Yeah.
And when I think about that, there's two components, right? There's quantity and then there's price. Okay. So you have to think about all those variables. If you're a sole operator, I have to do my price or time, my time or quantity, whatever that is, hours, I guess, and the price of that. And so that's kind of on the revenue side. And then there's cost associated with that. And we spoke about, cost per marketing lead. Yeah. And then you analyze, and then we can analyze like the return on investment from all those activities. So there's that. Then there's profit growth, which is a whole different animal where you really scrutinize your expenses.
Yeah.
And try and increase your margins, your profitability percentage, for every dollar that you generate. So lowering my costs, whether it's a different vendor, switching vendors, getting a second vendor, doing a competitive bid, again, into the operations of the business. It's a pain to switch, but I pay, $2,000 to switch vendors once. How long is it going to take me to, break even on that $2,000 switching cost, and then, improve my profitability on a per unit basis? Let's say I'm manufacturing, these leggings, right? So
yes, believe me, I know the profitability on them right now. It's very slim because it's a new business and you have to go through a module made. I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm excited for December 9th. I'm going to be like, blah, on December 9th. It's very exciting. Okay. So next question. I really want to learn more about finance and investing. You should go to her class. How do you suggest that I do this? Learning more, just some basic resources you can give.
Right. So the first thing is I would say, if you go onto Vanguard or Fidelity and you go on these websites that have mutual funds, there's a ton of information on there just in the research category. I also, in my investing class, and this is true for me as well, I like to, when I'm getting ready in the morning, I turn on CNBC or Bloomberg TV, and I just hear what the guys are saying, whether it's, Kramer.
Kramer. I like listening to Kramer. It's
So
funny.
yeah, he's funny, and you can pick up certain aspects,
Hmm.
but what I would say, and this is kind of where we got to at the end of this 10-week course, and I showed by examples, like you're much better investing in mutual funds. You're better off investing in mutual funds than buying individual stocks,
Yeah.
typically.
Yes.
So, and in the index and in the market, um, and but if you want to learn and have fun and dabble around the edges with buying some stocks, you could do that too. But the web has tons of information. I happen to like Investopedia is a
I was
good,
gonna say Investopedia. I
right,
I think one night I spent 7 hours. I just
right.
like it's a rabbit hole. That's a good one because you
Yeah,
learn
yeah. So I
so
enjoy it too.
much. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
It's all up there. It's all out there.
it's
Or
all
take a
out there.
class, or maybe I'll give another class if people.
I think we
Yeah.
should do we'll end up doing more of a course. The December 9th is to get you all going,
Right.
get you guys
Yeah.
moving in the right
Those are
direction or clean up.
two separate things. Like one is
Yeah.
investing, like your personal stuff, and the other is your business and understanding profitability. So two
Yeah.
separate things.
Okay. All right. I'm just looking at this. Hold on. Okay, so now, okay, it looks like we have one more question, which is perfect because it's 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Eastern. So how do I analyze the the ROI for my business investments? How do I analyze?
Sure. I mean, it depends on what it is, right? So what we're going to do, like in this class, and one of the tools we're going to, do is we're going to look at it lots of different ways. But on one aspect, we might look at how many clients you have, the number of clients, the revenue generated off of that client,
Mhm.
and what it costs to get that client. What did you have to do kind of for your business as a whole, and then allocate it across your clients, and then look at the specific client. What is the other cost? Maybe you had to travel to, buy 5 plane tickets before
Oh, I
you
can't
won the
wait.
business,
Yeah, that'll
right?
be fun.
What's the ROI on that? What's the
Yeah.
break even point? And then how much money am I making on that, on that one client? And is this a recurring business that keeps going? Similar type of thing, like if you're a manufacturer,
Hmm.
um, what is my all-in investment that I made on, to, as we were saying before, make my son has a business with his friends that's, he's 13, right? He's created a brand, a
How
sweatshirt hoodie
cute.
brand.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. So
Bring it out. Go ahead.
how much is it gonna, he's buying the sweatshirts, he's paying for the embroidery,
Yeah.
he's buying, junk food for his friends. I'm being simplistic here, but right.
Yes, I
So he's
understand.
throwing all that in. How long does it take again how many sweatshirts does he have to sell to make his money back? How long is that going to take? Or my money back, I should say. How long
There
is
you
that going
go.
to take?
There's the angel investor.
Yeah, exactly. I said I would buy one sweatshirt. That's about it.
That's
The
it.
rest coming out of his birthday money. So
Okay.
he's going to learn.
He's learning.
And then the ROI, the return on investment is, you say, what's my profitability
Okay.
over that investment in year 1, year 2, year 3, and then you do an IRR, a return
Yeah.
on that investment. And you can see, maybe my ROI was like 15%, and that's would be pretty good.
That would be pretty good. Well, we should all get his hoodie.
Be
Okay.
Different, I think, is the brand. Yeah.
Say it
Sorry.
again. What is
Anyway,
it?
I think it's Be Different.
Be different. Okay.
Yeah.
That fits in with Warrior Women in Business.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we've hit 4 o'clock. So again, I just want to reiterate a couple of things. First, of course, I want to really thank Amanda for being so generous. This is like, I mean, I have my MBA, but this is definitely like an MBA type of education, and very quickly. So I really appreciate it. And I hope, and I'm sure those of you that are watching and listening today, and maybe will watch the re-record of this, will get a lot out of it, take notes. But hopefully that's before December 9th. So on December 9th, again, Amanda, who is a certified warrior women in business coach, will be teaching a class, which she's already kind of giving you some pointers on what you're going to get out of it. You're going to have a great spreadsheet and cash flow. You're going to know what to do with your business from that perspective, which is so critical right now. I can't even overemphasize it. So to register for the class, you can register on warriorwomenbusiness.com. That is right now in the Facebook chat. So you can just pull that link and you'll see more information. You'll see a video of Amanda talking about the class and all the goods. And so that's December 9th. Also in the Facebook chat, we have posted information about our store on Zazzle, which is having a store-wide sale today, besides my mom buying a mug. Any of you, obviously always my first customer. Any of you ladies are looking for nice mugs. So this one says, never stop reaching your goals. So this is about perseverance, 100%. You got to go there to a goal to get it. This is the original warrior woman who was Wonder Woman until DC Comics, Amanda, contacted me, actually Warner Brothers legal team, and they said,
Really?
Jasmine, you can't use that. And I was like, oh God, I'm getting visibility from DC Comics. And I got really excited. And then quickly we changed our character. And this is our traditional strength and beauty glass. So in the morning, you feel good about yourself. So there's lots of things on Zazzle. And we have, oh my gosh, tomorrow, 2 classes we're running. One at 12 and one at 6. The one at 12 is with Precious Williams, she's hilarious. She calls herself the killer pitch master. She also uses a lot of explorative verbs that I won't use, but because I'm a Jewish girl from Boston. But anyway, so it's going to be very fun, and you are just going to get in there and learn how to pitch. That's at 12. At 6 p.m., we have Tina Trevino, who is my partner on the development of this new brand of products. So she's at 6 o'clock teaching you how to build your fashion business. We are also going to be doing a 4-week course for her. She has outfitted Brooke Shields, Adam Levine. She's no joke. So I just have the best women. I'm really excited to have Amanda on board. She's so new and she's got such a wealth of knowledge. So I hope that you all join us December 9th. And feel free to reach out to Amanda or I through warriorwomenbusiness.com. Listen, if you have any questions before you sign up for the class or get involved, please reach out. We're constantly evolving Warrior Women in Business, and I'm personally always looking for feedback and ideas on things to do. So feel free to reach out to warriorwomenbusiness.com. And that's it. Any closing words from your side, Amanda?
No. Thank you for having me on. It's great. And I really started and left kind of the corporate world to help other women. And so thanks for giving me the ability to do that. And I hope to see you all December 9th.
Absolutely. All right. So this is Jasmine Sandler, CEO of warriorwomenbusiness.com, signing off for episode 32, and hope to see you all on December 9th. Thank you.
Great.
Hi, my name is Amanda Parness, and I'm the CEO and founder of Spring Advisory Services, which is a consulting firm that helps companies with their strategic development and long-term growth plans. I also serve as an outsourced executive to these CEOs to help them make daily decisions with the operations of their businesses. Most companies I work with have about 10 million in revenues or more and are close to profitability or some kind of cash flow. Join me December 9th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for a seminar on how to organize your business so you can set up the necessary framework to analyze your profitability and focus on where you should be prioritizing your time. Topics we will cover include setting up and maintaining appropriate financial records, understanding unit economics, analyzing the return on investment for qualified leads, breaking down fixed and variable costs, and importantly, customer analysis so that you can price your bids appropriately. I'll be happy to answer questions after the session, and I look forward to meeting you all.